Welcome to the Perfect Storm. Current news in Bible prophecy. So today we are going to talk about certain issues that in the news.
You haven't said who you are, but say who you are.
I'm about to say that. We're about to talk about who we are.
Don't talk over him, Justin.
I know. What is this about? This is a perfect storm in here in a minute.
Yeah.
So as you're driving home, probably a Friday afternoon, we welcome you to the show. My name is Phil Yates.
My name's Kyle Morrison.
Hi, Kyle.
I'm Justin Lawman.
And we're talking about current news and Bible prophecy. Today, we have an awesome show. Do you know why we've got an awesome show?
Because you're here.
Because you're leading.
We have visitors in New South Wales and Tasmania. Who are these visitors, Justin? Kyle, who are these visitors?
Oh, the Chinese warships.
Come
Yeah,
on, guys.
nah,
Are
that was
you
a
up
quiz.
to the news?
That was a quiz.
There we go.
The three Chinese warships. Who knows whether there's a submarine? Probably is as well. Travelling down the east coast of Australia, in between Australia and New Zealand, even down to Tasmania.
That's quite close, isn't it?
Very close.
And they didn't just sail.
What are they doing?
They practiced shooting things. They did live firing.
Did they threaten to practice things or they actually shooting?
They actually shot.
Which direction?
I don't even know.
Who are they shooting at?
Only reason we know, or the way they discovered they did it, or about to do it, is a Virgin airline flying to New Zealand hears over the radio some warning from that ship that they're about to do a live fire, so they have to divert the plane and everything. And that's the first Australia and New Zealand heard about it. And let me say, we live in the, what did they call it? The Antipodes, back in when Captain Cook came down to this part of the world, the bottom of the world. No one cares about us down here. Well, all of a sudden, even New Zealand is talking about increasing their defence spending.
New Zealand don't have
Because they
much.
don't spend much on defence and haven't forever. Because they're in the Antipodes. Who worries you down here?
So why would they do that?
I don't know if I've ever heard antipodes as a word. I'm not old enough.
Listeners, you could fact check that
Yeah,
for us, Kyle.
okay,
You're the
fact check
fact checker.
Okay.
Antipodes. I
So
think
what
that's
are China doing down here? Surely they've got enough sea up there.
I think Australia and New Zealand, no, not in New Zealand, but Australia has probably provoked them by, we do our little flights and our navigation with our ships through the South China Sea in cooperation with America, so they can say it's not just unilateral, all the allies are doing it. We go up there and spy on them. Am I allowed to say we spy on them? Of course we spy on them. And then they're giving the favour back, apparently. They're not very happy with us.
So it was a bit of a threat.
China's going to be the source of the next war. You can see it.
It was a bit of a pull your head in Australia.
Shirt front, to quote Tony Abbott. Was Antipodes correct?
Antipodes, antipodes,
It's correct.
antipodes. How do you say that? In geography, it's just any spot on Earth that is basically diametrically opposed. So, just the opposite of
Opposite
wherever
of
you normally
Europe,
are.
of England.
Yeah.
Captain Cook sailed down here. Was like going to the moon.
We keep it in balance. What are they doing in Tasmania, and how did we not know that they were there? To get to Tasmania, you got to go past a lot of places.
Got to go past a bit of Australia.
We knew when they're up in the north. They first came through Indonesia, Malacca Strait down there.
So it's a warship. It's a warship
Three warships.
traveling down.
We knew. It's
We
just,
must have known.
they know on the news now. Don't you worry, Australia would have known long ahead, because we live in Canberra, Phil,
Yeah.
and you know what goes on in Canberra,
I
don't
sure
you?
do.
Just out over the hill
Yep.
here is a Joint Operations Centre. They would have been all across this, and we would have had drones and submarines and satellites watching every move. And they're not going to tell that on Channel 7. No. They're not going to tell. Often they'll do something like this to test what response. They'll say, well, how did they work out where we were? They're listening to how we listen. So if they ever do want to invade or do something nasty, they've tested us. They've tested and they say, well, they picked us up this way. And that's why we need nuclear submarines, because a Collins class, which are very quiet when they're electric, have to come up to the surface to get the diesel engine running again because it needs air. And then their satellites instantly pick it up. And with AI now, you don't need a man there like watching a screen. The computer's checking everything all the time. So it's incredible what AI will do for military. And they were testing us out to see and probably trying to intimidate us. One thing about Aussies, Phil, I don't know if Kiwis, it could be Kiwis too. We're not easily intimidated. It usually just gets our back up.
Yeah, we don't.
We probably don't get intimidated because we know that Team America World Police will come to the rescue.
Well, it's a bit of that Scots-Irish heritage there for the Aussie culture that, okay, you might kill us, but it'll be the best thing we could ever do is fight you now.
Yeah.
We've only just begun to fight sort of thing, the famous American quote in their early Navy. They were about to sink, and he said, we're only just begun to fight. That's the Australian way. You look at our sporting teams, the cricketers and everything. We're not easily intimidated.
No, we're not. We go out and think we're going to win every time.
Even though when we're not, we are. Gallipoli was a slaughter.
So I want to ask what this China warship spying off Australia, deploying devices to detect differential motion from commercial ships, blah, blah, blah. And then they're saying, wait, sorry, that's what we're doing in the South China Sea for the USA. So
we are.
So we're just pawns in the big military machine for the USA.
Well,
China's
US,
our threat.
The US don't want to approach America, so they approach us. Is that what's happening?
The US.
Well, imagine China did that to the US shores.
Well, they did. They put a balloon right across the whole continent.
Yeah.
That the Biden administration wouldn't even shoot down.
Let it fly.
And then they had drones coming out of the sea.
They've had drones flying over the east coast of America for ages now. If it's China, we're guessing.
Yeah.
So they're testing each other out. We're in a very dicey time, and that's what this show's about. We've come to the end of all things according to Scripture, and are there going to be more wars? Unfortunately, there appears there will be.
Yeah. Okay. Let's shift to the economy. What do you think about this whole thing? You know, we're running all over the world. Everyone's coming in with a report. We don't have as much gold as we thought. You know, it's gone from World War II when America had 18,000 ton, and now it's down to 4.5.
If it's there.
If it's there. So now someone's tipped. You reckon it's our opinion. It's always our opinion. But what do you think about Elon wanting to, focus his attention on this gold now?
Well, let's step back and look at Scripture that in the last days, Revelation chapter 18, Babylon the Great, she's made herself rich with the luxuries of the earth. In 1 hour, her riches come to nothing.
Yeah,
so
right.
the Bible's sort of indicating the economic realities of the world get a big correction. And again, we're in this, a lot of people call it the fourth turning. There's a famous book called The Fourth Turning, where everything seems to come to a big pivot point in history and it all changes. And we're living through that, it seems to me. And our global economy right now is just so indebted. The currencies are collapsing, so everyone's running to Bitcoin. And Kyle, what happened with Bitcoin this week? I'd just like to ask Kyle Bitcoin questions.
Was it Bitcoin or Ethereum?
It was Ethereum that was stolen.
Well, what's Ethereum?
So what's happened there, Kyle?
It's the number one
Our
altcoin.
Tech guy. What's happened?
It was a hack on the Bybit exchange, and they basically just drained the majority of the Ethereum out of the exchange. And the exchange needs to, like
Just-
a bank, the
just
bank needs to
speak
hold.
in English for a minute.
So imagine there's a digital bank that's holding magical coins.
That's about what they
So
are.
coins
Okay,
and numbers as a
It's cryptography is
yeah.
yeah.
Explain to the listeners because we're not across this. Okay,
I have no idea what you're talking
Well,
about.
most
Not-
of the listeners
not
are
just the
probably more
listeners.
across
What's a
it than
coin
than
look
me,
like?
yeah.
Is it a
Yeah,
a
it's
set
just
of numbers that no one else can repeat?
Yeah, it's like digital code. So this is software.
That's
Yep.
where cryptography.
Yeah, cryptography.
Crypto.
Yeah, crypto. So it's a digital currency, and it can't be replicated. Once it's gone, it's gone. So there's this famous story at the moment of for the last 12 years of this guy in Britain. His ex-girlfriend threw his hard drive in the bin. It went to the local dump, And he realized a couple of months later that that's where the hard drive had went, and that probably had all of his Bitcoin on it. He had something like 12,000 Bitcoin on it or something. So he's been fighting for 12 years to try and get the permissions to search the dump.
Because what would that be worth?
Hundreds of millions, 800 million or something now. 500 million. I can't remember the story, but
what a girlfriend.
So anyways, now the dump has been completely decommissioned, and the government is thinking of shutting it down and selling the land. So
how many did he have?
He's going through court to try and buy this property so he can go back through the dump and scour for the hard drive because he wants to resurrect that Bitcoin.
Wow.
How many did he have on the computer?
Let me pull up the story.
Was it 16?
But famously, guys, for listening on the radio, just in the last week, there's been a theft, a hack between the hot wallet and the cold wallet as they're transferring this stuff to use it. Somehow these North Korean hackers have managed, see, I do know a little bit about it.
Is it
these
North
Korean hackers?
Are you sure they're North Korean?
I'm positive, mate. I'm
Not
all across those North Koreans. The North Korean hackers were able to steal a significant amount of
$1.5 billion worth.
1.5 billion of cryptography.
Crypto. Ethereum specifically.
And they are trying to trace that through blockchain, how all these transfer works, and they can't get hold of it. So they're recruiting all these blokes at home on their computers to try and find it. And if you can find it, they'll give you 5% of what you find.
They're offering a $140 million bounty at the moment for that one.
Wow. The thing about this, hackers must be going full-time at trying to, because hackers are going full-time at trying to get crypto, because crypto's got a monetary value on it now, and now they can make some money. So
the levels of trust is what gets me, Phil. Everyone's fleeing from currency, like the fiat currency, to say, here's a $20, that's worth this much. Mm-hmm. Everyone's abandoning it because they can see the debt is compromising it, inflation's making it less and less. So they're going to crypto and
10%
gold.
a year in cash. Your cash is diminishing, they reckon.
Yes, 10% a year. So they're going to crypto and, oops, it just got hacked. And the gold, it might not be in Fort Knox. So here's a crisis of trust. And everyone's saying, if I buy gold, I need it physically.
Didn't we mention last time that Great Britain, gold was coming over from Great Britain to the States?
In the
flying
tons.
it
in the tons.
Yep.
Because of the threat to investigate Fort Knox. So the story here, just to clear this up, so it was 2013, they mistakenly disposed of private keys, and I want to talk about custody wallets and leaving your crypto on an exchange.
It's all French, mate.
I'll talk to you about it. 8,000 Bitcoin went to a landfill in Newport, and he assembled a team of specialists to secure funding to excavate the site, but the council refused the permission.
Wouldn't you be down there at night with a shovel?
So it's worth $750 million at the moment, and he's trying to buy the land to dig it up. He thinks he knows roughly where in the place it would be from his research.
Would it still be usable?
Well, they have people that can recover hard drives that are wet now, so I'm sure they'd try.
$750 million.
We don't do financial advice, but I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
Be very careful with any type of digital currency.
So what you're saying about gold, you're saying people want to own the physical. That's very similar to this story right here. So if you leave, they say not your keys, not your wallet. If you don't have the private keys for that cryptography for those crypto coins, then you don't actually own them. You can have them in your account on a website like Bybit and many others, like FTX had an exchange that shut down and disappeared as well, Sam Bankman-Fried. If it's on the exchange, yes, it's in your account. Yes, it's your money, but it can be hacked. It can be taken. And so this James Howes fella, he wanted to own physically his own stuff. And so he put it on a hard drive that only he could access. And when you're not on the internet, it can't be compromised. It can't be stolen. It can't disappear on you because you own it. And unfortunately, that's now in a dump somewhere, and that money's sort of lost forever. It's sort of like
the safest way you could store it can still be taken. And of course, gold is so valuable as a commodity because it can't be destroyed.
But it can be stolen.
It can be stolen. But, moth and rust and thieves break in, Jesus says, and thieves are breaking in. And if you've got gold, you can burn it. It'll only melt and you can still use it. It's indestructible, really. But trust. And even if you've got the physical stuff, you got to protect it in a crisis. So people are getting, everyone is woken up to the fact the world is in big trouble. And this program is about all these colliding things, this fourth turning where we see amazing rapid fulfillments in what the scriptures have said.
We've seen a lot of chase for money and a chase for riches, a chase for wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Put your chasing into Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Nice segue.
He's the most
Nice segue.
wealthy thing
Isn't it feel good at
available. I'll tell you what.
People wondering what's going on. Phil's leading the show. Phil's the MC.
No one's wondering what's going on, Kyle. I know what you're talking about.
Keep leading.
This is
Mate,
completely normal.
This is beautiful. Joint sheriffs fired.
Yeah.
Who, me or the?
Is it Dan? Dan Kane?
Did we have any comments on we had to deal with this week? We normally have some questions that come up.
That's a good point. I'll
You
pull them
wanna do
up.
that?
No, you cover the Joint Chiefs story. I'll look for the comments.
Yeah, you do. What's happening there?
The Joint Chiefs.
Yeah.
The United States military is governed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And
What
you
does
got
that mean? Can
Air
you explain
Force, Army,
that? Okay.
all the different chiefs of their thing,
Yep.
and they have someone over the whole thing, the head of the Joint Chiefs. Well, Trump has promised to de-woke the military. He's starting at the top.
What does that mean? De-woke.
Woke is you're awake and you're into gender studies and all these different issues that are floating around on the different, whatever we're going to call them. I don't want to go there.
Yep.
And he was very much the Joint Chiefs who was the Air Force, was very much Black Lives Matter.
This is Dan.
No, Dan's the new guy.
Okay, Dan's the new guy.
He replaced this African-American guy who was obsessed with all these woke issues that Trump says, no more. There's only two genders. We don't care about this stuff. We want to be warriors. So he chose a guy who's retired, who really didn't have the level to become in charge of the Joint Chiefs from the Air Force, who, when he had to take on ISIS in his first term back in about 2018, I think 2019, he wiped out ISIS in 4 weeks. 4 weeks.
Oh,
and it had gone on for years, all because of this general in the Air Force who says, well, I can do it for you. And he did it. So Trump says, you're going to now be in charge of Joint Chiefs for the Air Force, representing them. And so that's just happened. Trump has gone so fast, the world is head spinning. Yeah. I've never seen anything like this. Never seen anything like this, the speed at which he's changing things. He gets Dan Bongino, who is a podcaster who used to be Secret Service. He was a police law enforcement. He's pretty full-on right-wing. He's now second to Kash Patel, who's totally right-wing.
Has Kash Patel been voted in?
He's been voted in.
When did that happen?
Last week. I said last week it would be this Thursday or whatever, but it actually was that Thursday.
Wow.
And he's in. And here we go. They're coming in after Comey. Comey took on...
Who's Comey?
He was head of FBI who started the whole Russiagate hoax, and they were able to get rid of General...
Russiagate
Michael Flynn.
was about Trump and...
When Trump, they claim, was a Russian spy.
Yep.
It was all made up, as it turned out. As the evidence came out, there wasn't any evidence.
Mm-hmm.
They're legally now pursuing their enemies. And this is something that is very, very serious for those people, because the most powerful law enforcement agency on earth is now controlled by Trump and his guys. This is super serious. And they're just starting. Everyone that prosecuted Trump, Jack Smith, all of Jack Smith, that lawyer, prosecutor, all of his team have had their security clearances removed a day ago. And now Trump's basically said, he got asked by a reporter, why are you targeting these people? He said, I've been targeted for 4 years. I know a lot about targeting. Yeah. So he says, I don't care. And there's so much stuff. He's just dropping it. No one has time to react to that in the media cycle, because he's done 4 other things by the time that story comes out.
Well, how's the cartel going? Is he cleaning them up?
Haven't heard that. Have you, Kyle?
So I've seen posts about the fact that the president's putting laws into place to make it harder for America to come in there. But you said that they struck a deal and allowed them to come down.
So the
there.
president's trying to protect the cartel.
He's elected because of them, honestly.
Yeah, okay.
Mexico is a very corrupt country.
It's hard to know what's going on. But no, I haven't heard of any specific action other than a Texas farmer got blown up by an IED, an improvised explosive device.
Trump's coming, and he's not messing. He is not messing. He's having a go.
He's going every single way.
Folks, it's an exciting time to be alive. And please be aware, be awake. Not woke, but awake to what's going on. Man, oh man.
Do you want to cover the comments now or later?
Please,
Phil?
yeah, give the comments,
Kyle.
So
only the good ones.
We need a little jingle. Ding, 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 ding. Comments.
if I learn how to use this
You're on fire today.
board, he's doing well in his new role. Somebody saying, we'll go with Chris, is saying the reason we have our gold in England is because it is the global world financial institution. It's a separate country, much like Vatican City.
Yes.
Maryland is also in a special jurisdiction like the papacy as well. This is part of the papal plan to unite the world under a one world religion, ?
He should be on the show, this
yeah,
guy. He knows
Chris-
more than we
Chris
do.
knows what we're going
It's
on.
a statement/question. This,
Yeah.
do we agree with this?
Yeah, absolutely. London has been the financial capital of the world forever with Wall Street, New York.
Isn't it the actual banking district there is actually technically a different country?
What he's saying there, exactly. And Wall Street's not, but wow.
The pound's always been worth more
But
than everything else.
that doesn't mean we should put our gold there. Honestly, we should keep it ourselves. We're in Canberra today. Why don't they have it in Canberra? Because we've got nowhere to store it. Anyway.
Need to dig a big hole.
There's two people that are asking for fruit fast details.
Oh,
And I actually was getting emails about this.
I got an email, yes.
Yeah.
Michelle, I answered her back.
People
Told
want
her the
fruit fast
details.
details.
Let's talk about the fruit
Why don't
fast.
you give everyone details?
You have lost so much weight, Phil.
Well,
it's incredible.
Fruit fast for February. I know it's still February, but I've elapsed.
You've fallen
Let's just say I've
Let's say you've
lapsed.
fallen off the wagon.
No way.
2.5 weeks in, I started to get kidney pain. This is why I always
This is not
recommend that
helping
you need
tonight,
to talk to your doctor.
I haven't heard this version.
You need to discuss what you're going to do with your doctor, your local doctor, and say, is this a good way to go? Because once you start feeling pain in the kidneys, and I started feeling pain, cramps in the stomach, all that kind of stuff.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I was hungry.
That might have just been hunger.
A lot of people out there will say, my body was detoxing, blah, 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 blah. Good. Couldn't bear it anymore. After about 2.5 weeks, I added vegetables and I had some broccoli and some beans and
Mate,
I've
you went
slowly
hard.
added. I lost about, in 2.5 weeks, and you'll say this is unhealthy. I know I'll get comments. It was about 10 kilos.
That's awesome.
But I'm the kind of person who has to lose it quick. And if you're out there, it's more for it was, 50% weight loss, 50% mind control. One of my biggest problems is appetite.
Self-control.
I'll be open with you guys.
To use a biblical term, we call it self-control.
One of my biggest issues is appetite.
Yeah.
And I really, and I got up to, after Christmas, about 120 kilos. I'm down to about 107, between 107, 106. I know that's more than the 10 kilos that I said, but when I started the fruit fast, I was 116, 117. So about 10 kilos. I'm maintaining it now, but I'm going back to the gym. We're going to start some cardio. We're going to do it a proper way. And maybe I like this intermittent fasting that's going on. So that was the thing with the fruit fast. It was only fruit and fruit juice for the whole of February. I got 2 weeks in and I think it's good. I think it's good to fast for maybe a week. But then if you're going to go any longer, I suggest you go medical advice. Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing the details of the fruit fast, Al.
Yeah, thanks.
The listeners will stop emailing us now.
Thanks, Phil. He did lose a lot of
So
weight.
any more comments, Kyle?
Yeah, there's a couple here.
It's a massive comment.
Well,
isn't it?
I've read through them. It looks like somebody's just putting something into Chat GPT to try and interact.
Looks like a lot of people here that need to join our show.
But there's a couple long Chat GPT ones. Somebody's saying that they have to turn the volume up too. On who? Let's call
it's
out.
got to be Kyle.
Call
It's
out
Kyle.
people specifically. Let's not be general about this.
You're turning us down and turning yourself up, as he says.
And then somebody saying, my husband cured his, what's that word? PSIORATIC. Is that?
Arthritis.
Yeah.
Something arthritis.
With diet. I did pray about it if anyone is interested.
Good.
So
Diet can help
Diet's everything, mate.
in a lot of ways. The food you eat really changes.
I think the secret for you, from what I watched with you, and I lost 6 kilos myself
when?
in February.
Yeah, he started it.
I did start it, and I've changed my.
You've gone pretty
I
well,
eat
actually,
less.
because you did fruit and veggies.
I eat less. And if you're hungry, you're doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be hungry all the time.
You do.
Yeah.
Being
That's
hungry
the
is the
secret,
key.
mate. Just be hungry,
Eat food for fuel.
not for pleasure.
That's what my wife says.
Mm.
Yep. Any more comments, Kyle? Or
No, that
we'll
was the
move
end of
along?
those comments.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll check the messages and see if
How
anyone's
about we
texted.
talk about then this gold card? We've heard about green cards, but there's a new gold card.
So a green card, can I just clarify? A green card was if you've got special skills or you're a worker and they need those workers, you can get a green card to work.
Not
Is that right?
necessarily. They have a lottery as well.
Okay.
And I got a green card, but we had to go through a process. I first was on a visa and a religious R1 visa. So I went over to America as a pastor, and my employer got me there on a visa, and then they got me a green card, which I'm really grateful. And then I turned around and came home. But the green card was for my whole family, and it took months and months, if not years, to get through that whole process of vetting. And you have to pay out quite a bit of money to get a lawyer to take you through that process, and then you're done. So what Trump is proposing, because they've got such a debt problem, they're scratching anything they can to find out what can we do to reduce the debt, and they're offering a gold card for $5 million a pop. And I think it'd be very fast, very efficient, and I think he's really copied Australia.
So this is my question to you. There's this new gold card, right? If I'm working for the cartel in Mexico, I'm going to have $5 million.
They're still going to vet them. Because
So
one
it's not
reporter
like a-
said, what if it's a Russian oligarch who wants to come in?
Yeah.
He says, I know lots of nice Russian oligarchs. They're nice people. Like Trump. They're still going to vet them. But in Australia, in our immigration policies here, if you've got $1 million cash in the bank, you come to the front of the line.
Yeah,
Because you're not going to be a burden on society. You're probably going to lift up our economy. You're going to buy your own things. You're not going to need.
you're going to employ people.
Yeah. So it's a great way to do it.
Yeah, okay.
Great way to do it. And
Good.
Trump's smart they're cracking out $2 trillion in debt a year. Unstoppable debt. They're addicted to it. He's thinking outside the box. A lot of people want to live in America, and I've got to say it's a great country. The American people are great people. It's got its challenges, and on the news we see all the bad stuff, but if you live there, it's awesome. Shops, everything they have, open all hours. It's an incredible place to live. And so people from all around the world, they want to live there. Personal freedoms are really high. A lot of places in the world couldn't even dream of it. In Australia, we don't have the personal freedoms that the Americans do. So,
Like, can I get an example of that?
guns. Not just guns, but the regulations here. You can just do anything to your car, modify it, and they're not going to. Guys will drive down the road with a supercharger hanging out of their bonnet,
And their
it's
tyres can
how
hang
do you
out over the
register
guard.
that? Well, pay your money. You know, there's not all these sort of
Much
we're
cheaper too.
nanny state in Australia. We got to every little thing's got to be approved and regulated to build your house. It's so cheap in America because they don't have all these regulations.
You can have your tyres outside the guard.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. I had a Plymouth Roadrunner that I bought in the States, big block Hemi, and I just love that thing. And In Australia, I'd have it engineered and all that. None of that would have to happen in.
We should get a video and show the audience
No,
Yeah, speaking.
something about your car.
no.
Plymouth
We're not gonna
Roadrunner.
Go there. I've
It's a
sold
black
it.
one.
It's gone. Sold it.
Yeah, yeah.
Sad.
Sad. But I have collie dogs instead of roadrunners.
We're going to a new little section that I'd like to call Justin's predictions. Dim 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 dim. Justin's
Yeah.
predictions.
Dear me.
What do you predict is going to go on in the States over the next little bit? Like, what's going to happen with the? Let's start off with the gold.
Yeah.
What's
Is
going to
it-
happen?
Is it there? Let's all get a vote on that.
Boy, it's hard to predict things. I'm only guessing.
Well, you're pretty good.
The Bible predicts things in a big picture, and that informs me enormously.
I just want to remind you of the Trump in a landslide.
I think populism, just look what happened in the German election. They've just had an election in Germany. The conservative populists got 20% of the vote. The other biggest party got 28%, so they're nearly there. And that big party used to be like that, but they're now middle of the road, and it's going to be a mess now in Germany because there's no dominant thing. It's happening in England, it's happening in Ireland. So I'm expecting Trump's popularity is not going away. I'm expecting him that he digs down. He's going to dig out all his enemies now. I think he seeks revenge. I think he's going to find out who tried to assassinate him. And what we're going to see are all these big-time leaders from the other side of politics get really exposed. Particularly, he's destroying at a rapid pace the deep state. So who's the chick he just elected in charge of intelligence? Tulsi Gabbard. She just fired today 100 people from the intelligence community because of what they've been sharing in chat rooms. These chat rooms for the LGBT community that got pretty spicy, apparently. She just fired them all. They are cleaning house. And they're part by part, piece by piece, deconstructing these guys. If you didn't respond to the email within you had 2 goes at it, you're fired. He really is firing them. And everyone's thinking, he won't do that. Yes, he will.
A country's going to follow suit. So we've got, if you like, for want of a better word, right wing in America. France, Britain,
Everywhere.
Australia. We're going to go.
Australia, not so much.
Are we going to go liberal?
Well, Dutton is coming up in the election, and Dutton is not a populist. He's a party man. We don't have the closest we got to populism was Pauline Hanson, and she's a spent force. We haven't really had it. Clive Palmer tried, but no one votes for Clive Palmer.
They just started a new party.
Who? Clive?
Um,
Or
'Cause he's
Pauline?
no,
We
one of
don't
the-
have it in Australia.
one of the
yet.
old guys.
We don't have it here.
But do you think it will go liberal, which is right wing?
The world is going more conservative.
Yep.
It clearly
The
is.
trumpet of patriots. What to know about Clive Palmer's new? What to know about Clive Palmer's new political party,
No one
heavily
respects him.
inspired by Trump? An Australian billionaire launched a rebranded political party, heavily inspired by Donald Trump.
Trump
10,000
got on you,
people.
Clive.
He is not Trump, and we have a different political process here. We're not as polarized as America. America is so polarized. And now that they're in power, my prediction is that Trump's side, not him himself, but his side of politics, which is much bigger than him, is going to win elections from here on for a long time.
So they're getting less and less polarized.
They're just crushing the other side.
Yeah.
And
So-
they're doing it systematically in a way I didn't think they were this organized.
People on the fence are choosing conservative.
Something you said is they would expose political leaders on the other side. If they go back just to a couple of presidents ago when there was somebody before Trump for the Republicans, do you think that
Barack.
before Trump was in charge of the Republicans?
Bush.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you think that there'll be things uncovered that actually starts to undermine people's faith in
Politics.
politics or the swamp or
I think it's already there. People have
Because I don't think
Till
it's
done.
so. The reason I bring that up is I don't think it's necessarily just one side. I think very soon they'll be able to dig up the bodies to show that it's a very messy system through and through. And
Well, this
yes,
is-
heavily on one side, but there's a lot of
you got
corruption
to
on both
understand
sides.
this is social. Your populace are working class and the poor. They have no real power. They don't own shares. They don't own gold or Bitcoin. They don't even understand that stuff. They're just trying to buy some milk. Those guys are sick of Nancy Pelosi making $400 million while she's in the Senate. The House, she was in the House. They've had enough. Dan
Crenshaw's got the second best returns in the Senate, and he's a Republican.
Yep. And so they are, and he's part of the swamp. Like Republicans hate him. He won't get
It's
in
going
again.
down. Tucker's a bit.
He
on him.
threatened to kill Tucker Carlson. This side of politics, the populace are the majority. I call them the angry mob. There's heaps of them. The elites are small, and they're very wealthy and very powerful. And Trump, who is an elite himself, has come in and he's tearing apart all the other elites. So the mass part, the populists, the common people are getting more wealth and more power, and they're going to love him for it. They're going to love him for a long time to come, is my prediction.
Especially if he gives them back 20% of everything they save from Doge.
He understands what he's doing. He really gets the populist mentality, and that's the age that we've entered. It's not the old times of the 90s and the 2000s. We are really going into something different that we haven't lived through. And the last time populism was big is the 1930s. And the stuff that happened in Germany under Hitler, he's a populist.
And I think that was pre-tax as well, wasn't it? There was no taxes back in the day.
Well, the Federal Reserve didn't exist, all sorts of stuff. So I think he's going to probably deconstruct the Federal Reserve. And I do think he's going to do something with gold. I don't know. That's a
Oh, it was 1862. I was a bit.
pure speculation on my part, mate. I don't really know, but I do.
Is there
what
gold
I
in
guess,
there? Is the gold that they say is in there?
I think it's in there. I don't think there's as much as they
Is it pure
say.
gold?
I don't know. How do I know?
Kyle,
I think
Kyle, can you give me an answer?
my prediction will be that some of the gold will be in there. There won't be chain of custody on it. It'll be all floating about everywhere. It'll be messy. There won't be records kept. Just like Department of Justice and USAID sends out the money, but doesn't necessarily record where to. They're not putting codes. Elon's been talking about the fact there is no code, so you don't know where they've sent it or what to categorize it as, and that's why they can't trace or pass an audit. I think it'll be the same thing with the gold. It'll be very, very messy record keeping on purpose so that, so it's a mistake. There's been an error.
Oh, wow, we're missing
Computer
some.
says no. I actually found, here we go, this one.
It's gold.
And it's gone. So there'll be something there. I don't think it'll all be there. There's 4 different locations as well. This is not all just Fort Knox.
Not just Fort Knox.
It's spread out, and it'll get dragged out for quite some time to figure out what's going on.
But here comes, why does it matter? So for the listeners at home, there's no gold in Fort Knox. Shucks. How's that affect the everyday man?
It's a good
Depends
question.
how much gold you own.
It's a great question.
Well, gold's going to go up, but what will happen to your currency? The reason governments have been trying to control the price of gold is so inflation doesn't go crazy. Because if gold goes right up, it's bad for currency and everything else.
Everything else.
Inflation goes nuts.
Well, if there's less gold, then
And
it's worth more.
we don't know what's going to happen, but if that does happen, that's not good.
And if currency goes down, this man would say that Bitcoin goes up.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the Bitcoin thing.
What year were you born?
69.
Were you?
Mm.
Oh, 73.
Old bloke. I don't know. You take out.
Do we know the author of Bitcoin, or do we know the person who started it?
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah, but is that true? Anyway.
They want you to go
That's a good
digital
question.
because they can control it. the digital world can be super controlled. And they're probably really getting us more and more used to it, because the
Well, you
government
can lose it in a
ultimately
minute,
want
and
to do it. Well,
if-
digital, you can just stop everything.
If you only got Bitcoin, then you can't buy and sell.
You can't. And the Bible says that at the end, you can't buy or sell unless you receive the mark. If you don't have the mark of the beast, you can't buy food for your family. So they hate your independence. They hate that you have chooks and a veggie garden and they can't control you. They hate that.
Which country did they
love
make gardening illegal recently?
I don't know. You're telling me.
It was like New Zealand or something. You're not allowed to
No.
grow veggies at home.
What?
No,
I'm serious. I'm serious.
No, get out of it. Kiwis
That can't be
would
true.
never tolerate such a thing.
Let's go to our giveaway. Our giveaway today is what, Justin?
Study. You text study to 0482 082 876. And why it matters, Phil?
Why does it matter?
You'll get a study guide that will teach you, and you can mark your Bible yourself. You can put drawer on it and write in there so you could answer questions anyone asks you about the Bible. You'll get to know the Bible for yourself. You don't need a pastor. You don't need a priest or a theologian.
Study it yourself.
To know the Bible. You can know it yourself. You can do it at home. You don't need organized religion to do it. You just need a Bible.
I'll tell you something, Justin. These study guides are running off the shelf.
They
We
are
can't
really
believe
going
the
well.
uptake that's happening with these study guides. So, yeah.
We have run out.
We want to print. We want to print more. We want to print more. So,
sorry, I need to get on
your
that.
free offer.
New Zealand.
0482 082 876. What were you saying, Kyle?
I just have to apologise for the misinformation that I've shared. New Zealand was at the centre of an online hoax about the prohibition of home gardening.
They would not ban it. New Zealand is like, they're in the 60s, man. I love New Zealand. I'd move to New Zealand.
It was a hoax.
Yeah.
It's
New
a
Zealand's
great place.
wonderful place.
Yeah, that's a
especially-
hoax. But the whole world is into control, spying on you through your phone, controlling your bank accounts. What they did in Canada in the protests where they locked people out of their bank accounts, never done in a Western country before. Like heaps of just ordinary citizens because they're protesting. That's the future, Phil.
Yeah.
That's what the future looks like.
Well, keep your eye on what they're testing, because what they're testing usually becomes the reality.
That's why it's good to have a few.
Well, it's been good,
Cryptos
fellas.
obviously.
Cryptos. You can't eat them, mate. You can't eat
Been
them.
good, fellas. Final comments, Justin.
Yeah, God loves you and he wants you to have a relationship with him, and you can do that through the scriptures and prayer. It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful.
Maybe if people want to comment about this new format, they can.
Kyle,
Hey,
are
I'm
they
doing
going to
a
love it?
Hey, they asked me. I'm doing some meetings in Albury in May.
Right.
I can't remember the date in May right now. I think it's the 3rd. I've got to make an ad. But if you're listening and you're in the Albury district down there in the southern part of New South Wales, we're going to run the 5 great signs of Jesus' return. I'm going to do a series over a week there in Albury every night, and I'd love to meet you in person. And
Is that Matthew 2024?
Matthew 24, and I love preaching. We're going to get into it down there.
That's going to be good. I've heard some of them sermons. They're actually really good. Don't want to.
Some of them.
Well, I haven't heard the whole series, but
Okay.
yeah.
They were so good, he didn't want to listen to all of them.
No, they are. No, he just hasn't preached them. I follow Justin around on the preaching tour, and I carry his bag. So
Yeah, good on
it's
you,
been
Phil.
fun. Kyle, final comments?
Thank you, Phil.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for listening. This is the perfect storm. Tune in next week. We love you to join us.
God bless you.